I, 30, female, met my husband, 36, male, a year ago while we were both at a nature retreat. I usually never believed in love at first sight, but our connection was unlike anything I have ever felt. It was as if, in an instant, we both knew that this was not an ordinary vacation fling, this was something real. We were together at the retreat for 2 weeks before going our separate ways, but we never got out of touch. We lived in different states, but we would travel back and forth to see each other, and after 8 months of dating, when he asked me to marry him, I could not say no. I was over the moon, and I thought that I had found my Hollywood romance. Little did I know that not even a few months later, I would bitterly regret ever meeting him. I feel like the stupidest person on earth, but I'm going to just sit there and be wronged. I married my husband in a beautiful ceremony 2 weeks ago. I was looking forward to spending the rest of my life with the person I thought was the love of my life. I thought the wedding was a lovely affair and we all had a lot of fun. My dad paid for the wedding at a beautiful vineyard with all our friends and families. I thought I was living in a fairy tale. Everything seemed to be fine, but I began to notice some changes in my husband's behavior by the end of our wedding day. After the ceremony and reception were over and we came back to our honeymoon suite, my husband told me that he was not feeling well and wanted to go to sleep. He had been acting a little weird during the reception as well, so I was kind of relieved to know that it was because of his health and nothing else, or so I thought. But his behavior did not change the next morning or the days after that. For the next few days, my husband was acting really distant. He tried to avoid me as much as possible, and no matter how much I asked him what was wrong and if I had done anything wrong, he refused to admit anything. After a week of walking on eggshells, having non-stop anxiety, and getting the cold shoulder from him, I broke down in front of him and begged him to tell me what was wrong. He looked very uncomfortable and told me that he did not like how much I ate at the wedding and it was embarrassing for him. For a moment, I was in total shock. I admit I ate a decent amount of food at the wedding because everything was delicious, and isn't that what everyone else does at weddings? I thought this made no sense. My husband told me that brides are supposed to be shy and dignified at their weddings, and what I did was childish and embarrassed him in front of his friends. This just struck me as odd. I know most, if not all, of my husband's closest friends, and none of them seem like the type to be bothered by something like this. Most of all, I would never expect my husband to make such a weirdly sexist comment about women needing to be shy. I told him that I did not mean to embarrass him, and then that if he was really that uncomfortable, he should have said something at the wedding. All I want is for us to have a good life together, and I could have never predicted such behavior from him, especially since he has been nothing but nice during the course of our relationship. My husband then told me that he thinks we need to take some time apart, and that maybe rushing into marriage was a mistake. I called my friends crying, and no one could believe me. My maid of honor even tried to talk to my husband, but he seemed adamant about getting our marriage annulled. I was in a state of shock, and our whole wedding party assembled at our house to talk to my husband. He refused to listen and locked himself in his room. I was beside myself crying when my husband's best friend Peter pulled me aside and told me something that completely shattered me. He told me that he had caught my husband being intimate with a waitress at our wedding just before the ceremony took place. When he tried to confront them both, the waitress fled the room as soon as possible, and my husband gave every possible excuse under the sun and begged Peter not to say anything. At that point, Peter was in shock and didn't know how to react. He wanted to tell me but couldn't bring himself to ruin my wedding day. After listening to Peter, I just sat there in shock for a moment. It all started to make sense. My husband's sudden change in behavior after the wedding, his refusal to even come close to me, and the ridiculous excuse he gave for the divorce. I can't believe that I have married a coward and wasted my time, energy, and love on someone who doesn't deserve it. Every dream I saw for the last year of my life has crumbled into nothing, and I don't know what to do. Update 1. I have decided to confront my husband. It has been 3 days since Peter told me about my husband and the waitress, and every time I think of it, I feel sick. I've contacted the catering company to inquire about the staff at my wedding, and if Peter's description is correct, the girl my husband slept with is barely 21. Absolutely sickening. There I was, dreaming of spending my whole life with this man, and he was sleeping with a college student on our wedding day. I cannot believe that the man I once loved so deeply could be so cruel. The last few days have been spent mostly in silence. My husband tried to talk to me once or twice, but I can't even bring myself to look at him, let alone talk. But I have decided that enough is enough and that I need to move on with my life. I will talk to him today and go forward with the annulment as soon as possible. I feel horrible about what happened, and I'm terrified of telling my parents because I know it will break their hearts. My dad went all out by paying for the entire wedding as a gift to us. And the fact that I'll have to break the news. I'll try to put it in an update after I have the talk with my husband. Update 2. It has been 2 weeks since my last update. I forgot to update, but today I heard from Peter that my now ex-husband and his college girlfriend are now living together, which reminded me that I had promised an update. I've had the dreaded conversation with him since then, and after denying it a few times, he just gave in. He told me it all happened in the heat of the moment when he asked for a glass of champagne while getting ready, and she brought it in. One thing led to another, and they almost slept together before Peter walked in on them. He told me that initially he regretted doing anything, but apparently he couldn't stop thinking about her, and they had been texting. I was sick to my stomach. This man had absolutely no guilt. He then proceeded to patronize me by saying that I'm a great woman who would definitely find someone better than him. You know what? I have no doubt that I will. I asked him if the girl really was 21, and he said yes, and that she was in college. At that point, I really had nothing to say. I just felt bad for wasting my time and energy on such a worthless person. Our annulment is in the process now, and I can't wait to move on with my life and start a new chapter. Hopefully this time I'll find people who love me and respect me. My advice? Don't marry a guy you've only known for a year. Ha ha. Update 3. We're officially annulled. Since both parties were more than eager to get it done, it was a quick thing. I've only seen my ex once, and from what I could tell, he was having a grand time. We've had no contact at all since the talk, and I definitely prefer it this way. Last I heard, he took his new girlfriend on the paid-for honeymoon trip to the Caribbean he had booked for us before the wedding. This was probably what I needed to hear, to be done with this awful human being forever. Goodbye and good riddance, jerk. Update 4. I know it's been months since my last update, and I don't even know if anyone's going to read this, but boy, do I have news for you guys. Guess who called me up last night? Slurring, obviously drunk and clearly not in his senses. It was indeed my ex-husband. On a side note, it feels so good to say ex-husband and not husband. He called from a number I didn't recognize, or else I'd have never picked up. But I'm so glad I did, because karma has hit this man as hard as the pain of his betrayal had hit me. Long story short, his little girlfriend left him for some guy she met at a frat party. I mean, what did he even expect from someone who slept with a groom on his wedding day, right? Anyone except a total idiot like my husband would have seen it coming. Funny enough, he sounded genuinely sad about this girl he met only a few months ago, but I guess even we got pretty serious within only a few months of dating. Maybe this is just something he does. Who cares? He then proceeded to tell me that he had made a huge mistake by leaving me and that no one could love him as I did. He kept apologizing again and again before asking me if I could ever forgive him and take him back. I flat out laughed at his face. He truly is the most pathetic person I know. I can't even imagine what I saw in him in the first place. I told him that I'd rather spend my entire life alone than even be in the same room as him, and that he deserved everything that had happened to him. I hung up before he could say anything else and just had a good laugh after what felt like ages of being upset about my situation. I called up Peter to tell him about what happened, and we both decided to go out and celebrate this little victory life has decided to throw my way. Congratulations on having the last laugh, OP. Your ex-husband is downright pathetic. The fact that he not only slept with someone technically young enough to be his daughter on his wedding day and expected a relationship is just gross. You dodged a real bullet by finding out as early as you did. Who knows what else he's capable of, right? I can't tell you how happy I was on reading your last update. Talk about a happy ending, eh? On a serious note, I'm glad you're doing well now and have moved on completely from the dumpster fire of a person your ex is. May he continue to suffer. I'm sure you'll find an amazing guy who will cherish you, OP. Cheers. Next story. I have a close friend from college who's getting married, and she's been asking for my help to contribute to her wedding. I think it's sweet that she's thinking of me, but I don't think it's a good idea for me to help out financially. My friend and I have been close for a few years now, and I'm happy for her. She's struggling financially, and they have asked that instead of wedding gifts, people can donate to parts of their wedding ceremony. There's a registry and everything, like table flowers and stuff. I know she's trying to save as much money as possible for certain reasons unrelated to the wedding, but I just don't think it's right for me to be helping her out with the costs at this time. I'm a recent doctorate candidate, soon. I'm currently writing a memoir, and I don't know when I'll have time to get a job. Anything I give is just that much less time I can live on my own. Even if I could afford it, I don't think it's fair that I should have to help out when I know her fiancé already has a job and could definitely get another, and some of his friends seem well off. I tried to explain my financial situation to my friend, but she's still asking for help, even a little. She suggested that I could contribute a much smaller amount than others, but I still don't think it's a good idea. I told her that if I was in a better financial situation, I would be more than happy to help out. But right now, it just isn't possible. My friend got really mad at me and said that I was selfish and that she expected more from me. Our group of friends all pledged to help pay for each other's wedding back in college, and she says that since she helped pay for my wedding, $550, that I should help her out, even if it's just $20. She's also threatening to tell our group of friends, just because all of them contributed to my wedding, but she completely ignores the fact that my marriage didn't last even 1 year. I don't want to lose her friendship, and I really don't want her to tell our friends. My financial situation is private. More importantly, I also don't want to be taken advantage of. AITA for not wanting to help pay for her wedding? Edit. Okay, after seeing all the reactions and misunderstandings here, I talked with a couple of other friends in our group and showed them the post. They sent me some money, $100, to give to our friend for her wedding. I'm going to offer $5 at first and see if that is enough. Couple of other points. 1. My friend's fiancé agreed to purchase my ticket to fly, so giving up that money and not going is not an option. 2. My friend also gave me a wedding gift which I returned. 3. I do not have the money for a wedding gift, but I believe being there for her on her big day is a present itself. Everyone laughs when I say, My presence is present enough, so I don't think it's as negative as others see it. 4. I have not been accepted into a school yet. I'm starting to apply for PhD programs. I'm writing a memoir as a tribute and gift back for my experiences, and doing it now to prepare to become a doctor. Edit 2. To clarify, I understood the $100 is to be used for all friend weddings in our group, not just the one now. I'm not just pocketing the money. I am saving it for when others get married, and that means I have to try to ration it out, for lack of a better word. Note, there are only 3 people left in the group who are unmarried. My friend, one other person, and myself. Edit 3. A lot of people are asking about my memoir. I won't be sharing details here so as not to take it off topic. Anyone can DM me for more info though. Edit 4. I offered the $5 and didn't hear back for a couple of days, so today I offered $20 as a gesture of goodwill without waiting to hear about the $5. She said no and even had the audacity to tell me I didn't need to come to her wedding at all. I offered $25, then $50. Still nothing. She just seemed to get more upset even when I increased the amount. I don't know what she expects, literally more than double what she asks for, and it isn't enough? Wait, am I understanding that your friend group all pledged to help with each other's weddings, and they all helped you, but now you are backing out of a pledge you've already taken advantage of? It doesn't matter that your marriage didn't last. You still kept your friend group to their word, and they all stepped and honored that agreement. But now that you have gotten what you wanted out of it, you can't even find a small amount to keep a promise you made? YTA, and you deserve to be called out. YTA, she contributed $550 to your wedding that didn't even last a year. The least you could do is help with at least $100 or volunteer to help with the wedding, such as clean up, etc. You said her fiancé can get an extra job. Why can't you get a job? Seems like you're just lazy and not even a good friend. Opinion 3. YTA. I'm sorry to say this. I do understand your financial situation. However, returning a favor is what a good friend should do. She seems like she's being understanding, asking for just a little bit. And no, just helping your friend, and she is okay with even $20, will not make you poor all of a sudden. I would show this gesture if she was my close friend. And she gave $550 for you. She doesn't even ask that much. Come on. Next story. The title sounds really iffy, so to preface, my husband, male 32, is okay with it. I, female 32, am Hindu, and it is a custom in my religion for babies to go through a rite of passage by shaving their head when they're typically 1 to 3 years old. It's extremely common in India since both Hindu and Muslim communities follow this practice, with different traditions albeit. My husband is from the US. We've been married 4 years. We're in India visiting my family. 2 days ago, we were on FaceTime with his parents and mentioned while we're here, we will have a ceremony, Mundan, for our daughter, 3, female, while we're here. They were excited and mother-in-law even asked me to send photos. Everything was okay until my husband joked, "You'll finally know what Maya looks like as a baby." Maya was born with a full head of hair. Mother-in-law was confused, but when she learned about the shaving, she was furious. This was not even for religion, since she knows my daughter is being raised Hindu. Husband's family are devout Christians. My husband left the religion years ago. She has never expressed anger towards this in particular, so it was not the reason for her outburst. She went on a tirade how I was trying to unblack my daughter. My husband's black, and how I don't like my daughter's hair. She said I don't love her natural hair and have consistently tried to make it like mine, which is frankly not true. She also mentioned I'll start bleaching her skin soon since it's common with my people. This is completely baseless. Not only are we darker than her entire family, but also this was completely out of the blue. I've done my best in my search for my daughter's hair care. I've visited many black owned salons with my sister in laws and found the perfect one for my daughter. My husband researched about hair care products for babies, and Maya's hair is very healthy, and I've heard no complaints from anyone. I even have hair oiling tradition with her. My mother and grandmother followed this, and it was a great bonding time for us. I wanted to share this with my daughter too. I can't even say anything about the skin bleaching stuff. The only conversation mother in law and I had before about Maya's hair was when she mentioned she wanted to get cornrows done and asked if Maya would go to get hers done too. She was 2 at the time, so I said no. I completely blew up at her after this. My husband was mad at his mom, but said we should just have the ceremony on the down low with my immediate family and not posting anything about the ceremony, since her hair would grow when we go back. But I want her to have a big ceremony, and she's quite excited about it too. I'm also pretty hurt about mother in law's outbursts, as I've had a good relationship with her. Father in law has been quiet since this happened, and sister in laws are 19, so they can't say much. My family was in the next room while this happened, and they heard mother in law. She was that loud, and are mad at my husband. I don't know. This was supposed to be a fun trip back home, and it just spiraled into this. Mother in law was completely out of line. Cultural respect is a two-way street. That said, this is a discussion with your husband about placating his mother. It needs to stop. Then your husband tells his mother she will respect the parental decisions you and he make, or else her role in the kid's life will be limited going forward. You need to have a discussion with your parents that they will not blame your husband for his mother's poor manners. Then celebrate your baby's mundan. NTA. Let's put the racism aside for a minute. It seems very popular for grandmothers to object to what the mother wants. For example, I am from a white culture, and my mother screamed the house down when my sister wanted to ear pierce her daughter's ears. I can only think they secretly fantasize the child is theirs, and when you go alter the baby, it's kind of bursting their fantasy bubble. Now, the racism. Your mother-in-law appears to have been hiding that one for some time. I'm guessing she has been hiding it for so long it's been building and building. She's clearly erupted like a volcano full of her hate speech. Get your child's hair cut. You are following your culture. Remind your mother-in-law how it is only hair and will soon grow back. NTA, I'm Indian. Both my kids had their mundan. It was horrible, crying and the screaming, but it's part of the heritage you are passing on to your child. Hair grows back fast, except the photos which you will lose eventually from among the billions that you will take to record Maya's life. This period will be a dim memory in the long term. Don't sweat the small stuff. Go ahead and have a blast in India with the fam. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.